Aloha, welcome to Malama Kupuna, where we talk about topics of interest to our kupuna, our elders, and those who love them. I'm attorney Scott Makuakane with the law firm of Estate Planning Counsel, joined in the studio this week by good friend Gary Powell. Gary, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Gary runs the Caregiver Foundation. He's the executive director and also the founder of a wonderful organization that provides support and actually also provides a lot of really neat services for our kupuna. So Gary, why don't we start by you giving us just a brief background. Local boy, born on the North Shore. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Very country. North Shore was a great place to grow up, very laid back. Lots of swimming, lots of hiking, lots of doing all the sort of things people love to grow up doing. Went to school on that side. Was involved in early business ventures and great things on that side. A good place to be from.
And back in those days, Wailua was sugar plantation
Sugar
town.
plantation, yep.
I know exactly what that's like. I grew up in Ka'u on the Big Island. And at the time, it was sugar plantation town. Very different from the way it is now.
Completely different, yes.
But a lot of great memories from the good old days.
Back then, ohana really was something you lived.
Oh. Yeah, you know, things changed. Just driving into town this morning, it really impressed me how a lot of the drivers on the road even had absolutely no consciousness of anyone else being on the road with them. And even that's not like it used to be, although I understand that the drivers here are a lot more considerate than in some other places. So
Probably so.
Maybe we've still got some of it, and maybe we can restore that. Well, Gary, what I really want to talk about is what your organization does. So the Caregiver Foundation, for one thing that I know provides a lot of good help to people through is the support groups. Could you tell us about the support groups that you facilitate?
Support groups are so important for individual caregivers, or actually anybody even looking at caregiving, to give them a place that they can vent when necessary, get information which is always necessary, but to be able to be around other caregivers who actually do know what they're going through. That type of support is essential for anybody to be a successful and effective caregiver. The more support you have, the better support you can give to the person who needs care.
Yeah, I'm sure that's super helpful, not just in terms of learning new things, but also learning about the pitfalls and the problems.
Absolutely.
And learning I'm not alone. Other people have to suffer through the same stuff too.
I often say that for most of us, caregiving comes as a surprise. It's that phone call that comes in the middle of the night, or perhaps a day when you weren't expecting it, and somebody says, something's not quite right with Dad. And all of a sudden your entire world changes.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for that, it can be devastating.
Boy. Now, another facet of your organization is educational programs.
Yes.
What kind of educational programs?
We have over 50 different workshops that we are able to present around the state. Actually, we've done some other places too. One of the most popular right now is not designed for seniors particularly. It's not designed only for caregivers, but it's designed for people, baby boomers, I guess you'd say.
Us guys.
Us. What are we doing to prepare ourselves for taking care of our parents and for the possibility of our own need for care?
Yeah.
So we look at all sorts of things, from estate planning, are you paying any attention to that, to how exactly do we communicate with seniors, watching the words that we use, understanding that what we say may not be what is heard, but really getting very, very real about the fact that we're actually not getting any younger. No matter what we think inside, our bodies are telling us it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
Get ready.
And these are things that we don't want to think about.
No, nobody wants to think about the possibility of needing somebody to help you take a bath, or to, God forbid, help you use the bathroom. You know, these are not subjects we want to spend any time thinking about. But if we don't, then somebody has to face them without any preparation at all.
Yeah, it's kind of the new reality. We live longer. Thank God for all of the ways that the doctors are able to do that. but what that means is we're probably going to need more care.
It's a distinct possibility.
Other kinds of things that your organization does, family caregiving planning. What is that mean?
That is a rather unique service. We try to get a family together when they're looking at caregiving situations. Unfortunately, many families facing a caregiving situation fracture instead of coming together. We try to get everybody at the same table at the same time to look at what kind of care is needed, get everybody to have a chance to say what they think should be done. Then we help them see all of the holes in their plans and give them ways to solve those. Once a family is able to sit down, it may be that somebody in the family simply cannot provide any help at all. But instead of the family being frustrated and saying, oh, brother never helps at all, they understand what the circumstance is. It doesn't change circumstances, but it changes perception and understanding. And perhaps families can then stay together and try to maintain the family status rather than fly apart.
Yeah, I think what happens a lot of times is people make assumptions about what other people are thinking or, just whatever. And without that communication, there's the inevitable blow up. So it sounds like part of what you do is almost serve as a mediator to get the family talking with each other.
Sometimes we'll actually bring a professional mediator in if it's really a bad situation. And once in a while, we've got to bring in an attorney and say, you guys have to get to a very real point on this and hammer out some legal issues. Most families, the caregiving falls on one person for the majority. No matter how good the family is, how much everyone cares about each other, circumstances often dictate that one person ends up doing most of the work. But there are ways to make that a little bit better by planning more carefully. Other members of the family may decide, well, they can help financially, or they may be willing to give up future inheritance to help this one person who has to give up so much of their own life, or different things like that that can really make a difference in the overall planning process.
Sure, and if everybody gets together and talks it out and comes to agreement, then you don't have the inevitable misunderstandings later on. That's terrific. Another thing you do is money management. Money management is so important.
I often hear somebody in the office will say, well, I don't know what my sister does with mom's money. And when we look into it, sister is usually trying her best to make sure the bills are paid and taken care of, and taking care of her own personal needs and her family needs at the same time. By providing a bill-paying service, we're able to take that particularly contentious area off the table entirely. Third party handling that keeps it all in shape. The books are available for anybody to look at any time, provided they have the rights to do that. But it can take what can often be the biggest problem in a family and make it a non-issue.
Yeah, that's really true. I see that a lot, where there's misunderstandings about what's going on with the finances. And how do you charge for those kind of services?
That service is a flat fee. We find it very important for people to be able to budget and know what their expense is going to be. So the basic money management right now is only $125 a month.
Wow, that's a great deal.
It's a great deal. It's a very good deal.
So the Caregiver Foundation isn't really necessarily a huge money-making organization.
No, it's a nonprofit. We're not in it for the money at all.
Yeah.
Of course, we have bills to pay, and that's reality of life. But we try to make sure that people are within their own resources, that they're not spending down their estate unnecessarily, and that they're being realistic about what they can and can't afford. Some people can afford to hire a CPA firm to handle everything, and that's fine. That's wonderful. Other people can't even afford the $125.
Yeah.
So we try to find out, well, what else can be done? How else can this situation be handled? We do have instances where we do pro bono work for free. Not too much, because we do have to have the bills paid, but we try very hard to find solutions for every situation.
Oh, that's terrific. Caregiver coordination services.
That's our most comprehensive service. That service literally will handle any aspect of life that a person needs help with. Anything from finding them a cook or a gardener, managing that, all the way to taking care of having nurses in, travel companions to go on trips, attorneys to represent them, just literally any aspect of care that a person might need. That falls into a lot of our guardianship and conservatorship services that we provide. Very similar, but for some people, they haven't had to go that far. They just need the help, and we're able to step in and provide all of that. We have many clients for whom we find homes. We manage those placements. We manage their estates. We manage their funds. We manage their friends sometimes in setting up visiting schedules and making sure that people are, there, and just every aspect of life. A lot of people with parents here, and they live on the mainland, or actually vice versa sometimes. We're able to help them be the most effective long-distance caregiver that they can be.
Terrific. Now, how do you charge for those kind of services?
Depends on the service, but usually there's an hourly fee associated with that. And then the services that we coordinate in would have their own fees. So for instance, if we asked you to come work with a client, it would be your fees that the client would be charged. You wouldn't come in at our inexpensive fees. Yours would be a little bit better.
Well, so you don't do everything.
No.
You bring in the help that's needed as it's needed.
As it's needed. So you don't have to go out and hunt for everything yourself. A lot of people are at a job where they spend an enormous amount of time on the telephone trying to coordinate mom's doctor visits, who's going to pick her up, food, all the different areas that people have concerns with. We're able to step in and do that for them, so they can concentrate on the job and hopefully keep their job much longer.
Terrific. That's a huge service. Now, the guardian conservator services, those are actual court appointments.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes. It's good to have knowledge of who you're working with, and that person really understands the job. I'm a member of the National Guardianship Organization. I have a certificate of guardianship, which is nice to have, but it's more important that it shows that we actually have the qualifications, experience, and education to be able to handle those areas. Over here we have guardians and conservators. Sometimes we have guardians that also end up with the same duties as conservators.
And
it confuses me a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, you want to explain the difference between a guardian
Well, basically
and a
guardian is supposed to be the person that takes care of you, the physical you. The conservator is more the person who takes care of what you have. I guess that's the easiest way to look at it. Your money, your legal affairs, your estate, those things. So, important positions, and we're very, if I can say it, we're very good at what we do.
And if someone wanted, for example, to have a family member as guardian, but the Caregiver Foundation as conservator,
that would work fine. We have several clients that have exactly that situation. And interestingly, we have it the opposite as well.
Really?
We have some people who have professional CPAs handling the conservatorship, and they want somebody to take care of the guardian side of it.
Okay. So it really is a team effort.
It is, very much so.
Terrific. You also provide trustee services.
Trustee services, especially for special needs trusts.
Okay.
That's a very specialized area. So special needs, special area. But it takes a lot of very conscientious effort to be a good administrator for a special needs trust. There are lots of rules, lots of regulations. You can't just go out and buy anything you feel like the person needs, because typically that person needs to also qualify for government benefits. So there's a lot of cross-checking, double-checking, testing all of the purchasing and things that are paid for to make sure that you don't void the terms of the trust. I don't recommend any family member who is not an attorney try to handle a special needs trust on their own. It could really be a problem.
And a special needs trust, of course, is one that's created for the benefit of a special needs person.
That's
so
correct.
If someone, because of an accident or some circumstance of birth or something, is receiving governmental benefits, if they receive an inheritance, they may lose those benefits. Whereas if their inheritance comes through a special kind of a trust, they can still qualify for those benefits, but there can be extras paid for above and beyond what the government provides.
Yes.
Is that?
And sometimes it's not just a person who's been injured or who has lost, perhaps at birth, had some sort of an accident. I find a lot of people are now doing it for their parents, because they're providing care for their parents, but if something happens to them, there's no one left to take care of their parents. So I see people setting up I think they call it supplemental needs trust.
Well, that's what I like to
point.
call them. That's what I like. And the difference being that a special needs trust is where someone who is receiving benefits actually receives an asset by way of inheritance or maybe a personal injury settlement or something like that. And there are special rules under the law where you can set up this trust so that you can have the benefit of those finances without losing your benefits. Now, a supplemental needs trust, on the other hand, is one where you never actually give the assets to the beneficiary. You place them in a trust for their benefit. Right. And a lot of similar rules apply. But the big difference is that with a supplemental needs trust, that is one that you set up for your family member, you get to say what happens to whatever's left in the trust if there are more assets left when that person no longer needs them, as opposed to the special needs trust where the benefits have to be paid back to the government before any of the other family members can share.
Yes.
So big difference.
Right.
But that's one of those things that you need an expert like Caregiver Foundation to help you with to be able to do things right. And then there are a lot of tricky rules about what you spend the money on, because you spend it on the wrong thing, that can result in disqualification. And you were telling me earlier that sometimes you will even step in and help other fiduciaries with the
sometimes, especially with some of the banks and things, they will ask us to be the actual administrator. They maintain the trusteeship position, but then they hire the Caregiver Foundation to come in and actually do the day-to-day work. And we're glad to do that too.
Yeah, that is such a great idea that people are willing to do that.
It is. It's so important. And with the foundation, we really concentrate on who the beneficiary is. So we get very involved. It's not just an administrative, sit in an office, write a check and file it away. We go visit the person, make sure they're being well taken care of. We get involved very intimately in the delivery of the benefits of that trust. So I think that makes a big difference.
And one other thing that you have listed here is Caregiver Employee Assistance Program. What's that?
It's sort of like care coordination in a way, but it's designed for employers to subscribe to a service that allows their caregiving employee to do their job instead of staying on the phone. So let's say you have a small office and your administrative assistant is very critical to your business. You don't want to have a revolving door with that person. You want that person to be there and be at work. Well, if they need to be providing care for a parent or a loved one, there's emergencies that come up, doctor's appointments that have to be handled, trips to the bank, stores, whatever comes up. And they begin needing to take off time from work, come in late, phone call after phone call comes in, begins disrupting that employer's entire business. Employer may be the best person in the world, but at some point, they're going to say, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find some other position. By having this subscription service, and the employer pays a monthly fee for the employee, it's usually about $100 a month, the employee can call the Caregiver Foundation and say, here's mom's schedule. Can you set up transportation? Can you set up verifying the doctor's appointments, making sure that someone is there that understands doctorese so that I can get the right information? We can put all that sort of stuff together. So instead of you calling all over town, you get back to work.
Yeah, and you guys kind of know who to call too.
We know who to call.
That is great. And the employer can provide it as sort of an employee benefit that's non-taxable to the employee.
That's correct.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is great.
It's a great service. And we're doing that all day long. So it's a way that we can utilize our staff even more efficiently by having those services come in. We'd love to do it nationally. We have this vision of having this service on a basis on a national level at some point.
Wow, that is just terrific. Now, of all of the things you do, what's your favorite?
The coordination.
Yeah.
I love to get involved with people, especially people who have no family. And we have a lot of people in Hawaii who have chosen to retire here. Perhaps they were married, they've lost a spouse, and they're here. They don't have anybody. For one reason or another, maybe they don't have, or they've been estranged from their families. They're trying to figure out how to survive on their own with nobody. We're able to come in and give them the support, give them the care and the attention that they need. And I love doing that. getting to meet all these people. Ever since I was a little kid, I love working with older people. I don't know, maybe that's something weird about me, but I find
that's
it
something
fascinating.
God, it's a gift.
Yeah, I
God
guess so.
put that in your heart. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Now, what are the big issues that somebody my age, I'm 55, needs to be thinking about? What do I really need to be focusing on at this point?
You need to be focusing on the potential costs of needing care. If you need to have somebody come in and help you with physical care, you can easily spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 a month. If you need that for an extended period of time, unless you're extraordinarily wealthy or well insured, you will go bankrupt. You will spend everything you have. So it's critical that a person look honestly at their future and then sit down with an estate attorney and say, you know, maybe I don't have $2 million to set aside in case I need help. What else can I do? Mm-hmm. I've worked hard. I have 3 kids. I want my kids to get what I have managed to scrape together. I don't want to lose everything taking care of me. Am I positioning things in a way that will protect both me and my future and what I want to leave to my children? It's not something that just happens. And it's not good enough to say, well, it's probably not going to happen to me, I'll just die. Well, maybe in the old days people had the good courtesy to die on time. That doesn't happen very often anymore.
Stop doing that.
We hang around a long time.
Yeah.
The longer we hang around, the higher our chance is of needing care. So it's very important. And it's important to also look at the physical surroundings. Do you have a 3-story house? Is that the best place to grow old? Be realistic. You may not be able to go up and down those stairs comfortably. They may not be wide enough to take one of those wonderful stair chairs. So you got to really look at it and say, the future might need some changes. Make them now while you can.
Yeah.
Renovate where you need to, both physically and mentally. You got to start thinking differently. My dad says that I've gotten into this work to prepare myself for my old age. He may be right.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't like the idea of not existing.
Yeah.
So that really bothers me. But the more that I'm around seniors, and also we work a lot with disabled adults, those 2 categories of people in our community have a very different aspect on life. Most seniors have come to terms with the fact that their life is finite. Most disabled adults have come to terms with that's what their life is. Both of those are so inspiring when you meet people who have reached a point of contentment with their existence.
Yeah.
I like to learn from them.
Yeah, really.
It's a great opportunity. And then I go home and think, do I need to widen that doorway?
Yeah, our kupuna don't just take, they give. And so
very much so.
It's
I think
wonderful.
they give far more than they require. We often hear the baby boom generation referred to as the tsunami, the oncoming crisis, all of these things. Whenever we look at seniors in a negative way, we diminish the care that we're giving them. A lot of people end up thinking that they become the parent as their parent becomes perhaps childlike because of dementia. That never, ever happens. You are always someone's child.
Right.
If you turn the tables, the level of care and the way you care for that person goes down. Not intentionally, but it just happens. So we work a lot with helping people understand that the words we use, the attitude that we project, the way that we take care of somebody is so important in people maintaining personal dignity, physical dignity, and even spiritual dignity. We don't have the right to go in and change people because we don't agree with them. A caregiver's first job is to lower anxiety whenever possible, and then to provide the respect and the dignity that that person deserves.
Now, your organization, we mentioned earlier, is a nonprofit.
That's correct.
So you got
We're
any
always
fundraisers?
Oh, yes, we do.
Coming up, so tell us a little bit about that.
We have Pulama Aloha, which is our fundraiser this year on May 4th from 11 to 12 at the wonderful Mandalay restaurant down on Alakea Street. Great time, good food, great entertainment this year. We have a fabulous silent auction. One of the things at the auction is a safari in Africa, so come down and bid on that. It's a great opportunity. We've also got beautiful Kamuela Inn has donated a 2-night stay over there, so you want to be looking at those things. But great works of art and collectible items. This year we're also having a raffle as part of it. And this year, for the first time, we're sponsoring a photo contest, a caregiving photo contest. Great opportunity to take a picture of someone you love. You have to do a release now. We've got to have that model release. But perhaps memorialize someone that you love and care for, either by doing a portrait or a picture of caregiving being provided, or a creative picture that has to do with caregiving. So kindergarten through 12th grade, there's no entry fee. College students, $5 entry fee. Above that, $10 entry fee. Give us a call. We'd love to send you an application and show you how that works.
Terrific.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Now, do I need to make a reservation?
Reservations for the fundraiser are very important.
Okay.
You can call our office at 625-3782, so 808-625-3782, or you can email me, Gary, at thecaregiverfoundation.org, or you can go to the website, www.thecaregiverfoundation.org.
Okay.
The is very important.
If you just put in Caregiver Foundation, you get
all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Gary, terrific. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing.
Thank you for letting me.
And I really feel like your organization is one of those that we ought to be out there supporting. So I hope you get a lot of great support.
I appreciate that very much.
And I'm throwing my support behind you too. So
great. Appreciate it. Thank you, Scott.
I'm there as well. Yeah. Well, we've been talking with Gary Powell of the Caregiver Foundation. He's the executive director and the founder of a wonderful organization that provides services statewide, I believe,
yes.
And even beyond. Gary's been invited to make presentations on the mainland, and maybe has a vision of expanding far beyond our shores at some point. So we thank you very much for tuning in, and Gary, thank you very much for coming on and being a guest. And just one of the additional resource I'd like to mention is the website produced by our law firm, www.estateplanning.com. A lot of great resources, including a way to sign up for workshops that we do in-house. So until next time, ahui ho.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.